me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate.
Hello, folks. Richard Moore, USAGSA. We're going to talk about MK Ultra, CIA program from the 50s, and a little bit about the origins of this program, and of course its modern continuation.
We are not professing to tell you the complete story of these activities. We are professing to tell you the complete story that we know. Right. But these records that we've uncovered don't tell the story. They tell pieces of it.
The buildings behind me were the headquarters for the World War II Office of Strategic Services. It was here that the first halting steps toward mind control began. The shaper and molder of OSS was General Wild Bill Donovan. In this anything-goes atmosphere, Donovan appointed this man, Stanley Lovell, a Boston industrialist, to break new ground in many scientific and technical fields. He later wrote of his OSS job that it was, quote, to stimulate the PEC's bad boy beneath the surface of every American scientist and to say to him, throw all of your normal law-abiding concepts out of the window. Here's a chance to raise merry hell. It was in this atmosphere that the search for mind control began. It was the Cold War, and especially the trial of Joseph Cardinal Mindszenty, who was forced to testify in a Hungarian court that he was a spy. And then later, the Korean War, with the coerced and mainly fraudulent confessions of American servicemen.
My germination took place on the...
that would spark intense interest in intelligence circles about brainwashing.
In this setting, you can get people to do most anything, do you see? Because you don't have to lay a hand on them. And by the time you get through and you go up before the judge, the fellow says, were you a spy? He says, yes, I was a spy. The Chinese never really had this kind of a state police system. They would get him in, and all this fellow does is ask you to write, rewrite, and talk to him about your whole life.
Graduated from pilot training in 1949.
While the purpose of the study was to find out about communist brainwashing techniques, CIA documents show that the agency was interested in developing mind control methods of its own to precondition and control Chinese living in this country to be sent back to their homeland as CIA agents.
9 sub-projects. There's actually 4 MKUltra sub-projects on children. This is sub-project 103 in 1959, the Children's International Summer Village. The investigator got money through human ecology.
In 1938, Dr. Albert Hoffman in Switzerland was looking for new drugs in the treatment of migraine headaches. He had been studying substances that came from the molds that grow on rye plants. Now, it turned out that these substances were of no use in the treatment of migraine headaches, but subsequent investigation showed that they are very fascinating indeed in the changes that they produce in our mental state.
A total credit for sponsoring and initiating the entire consciousness movement, counterculture events of the 1960s.
Dr. Timothy Leary, the 1960s Johnny Appleseed of LSD.
The CIA funded and supported and encouraged hundreds of young psychiatrists to experiment with this drug. The fallout from that was that the young psychologists began taking it themselves, discovering that it was an intelligence-enhancing, consciousness-raising experience.
The CIA's interest in LSD was intense. The worry was that the Russians would get hold of it. Were the Soviets into LSD?
I'm going to have to say I'm sure they were, but if you ask me to prove it, I've never seen any direct proof of it.
But at one point, intelligence information received from Switzerland said that Sandoz Laboratories was about to put 100 million doses of LSD on the open market. And it caused enough concern within the agency that the United States was prepared to buy the entire supply. It was here that the CIA funded a series of experiments, severe experiments. The work was done by the Institute's then director, Dr. Ewan Cameron. It is the closest experimentation to brainwashing yet disclosed. His work, unprecedented in psychiatry, consisted of 3 areas which he called sleep therapy, psychic driving, and the ultimate depatterning.
In his psychic driving, so-called type of therapy, he would give the patient intensive electric treatment in order to make the patient regress deeply, become forgetful, and then he would attempt to implant new ideas in the mind of the patient.
Now, to a layman, it would appear that Dr. Cameron was trying to take the slate and wipe it clean, the slate being the mind. In other words, brainwashing.
Exactly, that's a very good comparison.
Brainwashing.
Yes.
The next step was what he called psychic driving. This involved almost endless tape-recorded messages and more drugs for the patient. Cameron wrote that this was the way to make direct controlled changes in personality. The most severe technique Cameron used was depatterning. He described it as breaking up the existing patterns of behavior by means of intensive electroshock therapy with prolonged periods of sleep. He carried out these experiments in something he called the sleep rooms. Cameron used this combined sleep electroshock treatment on patients as long as 30 days. One patient he kept asleep for 65 days.
How many of you have heard of Event 201? Event 201 is a simulation that they did right before COVID hit, and it was a drill for how to handle pandemics. But it didn't do the things you would think they would do, like how do we fix the VAERS system to make sure that we get good data? What they talked about was how to turn America into a totalitarian state. How to impose censorship. In my book on Fauci, I've been able to find 22 of those simulations. And they have been practicing this for year and year. It's all sponsored by the CIA, as I demonstrate. Fauci and Bill Gates play key roles in them. Bill Gates called Fauci in 2000 to his home in Seattle, $147 million home, 40 acres on Lake Washington. He sat Fauci down in his library and he said, I want to propose to you a partnership. You and I work together to vaccinate the world. The story in my book tells exactly how they went through that. And the story of these simulations is critically important because it was the way that they prepared. They didn't just have a few people involved. They had hundreds of thousands. Cops these were all top secret. Police officers in every community in this country, healthcare workers, first responders, were all drilled in this. How to censor, how to silence, how to impose tracking and tracing, how to do control. So they all went through these drills again and again, and it was a way of drilling and practicing a coup d'etat against American democracy. All of the techniques they use, I've spent a lot of time studying the CIA because my family was in a 60-year fight with them, and I wrote a book about that battle called American Values. But I've read all of their manuals, and they have techniques for going into indigenous countries and causing chaos, shattering the societies, destroying the economy, creating social distance between people so that there's no unit cohesion. And then when everybody is demoralized and destroyed, coming in with a centralized control and imposing, as they did with all of us, they locked down America in a hostage taking. And they impose something that is part of their technique, which is called Stockholm Syndrome, where the captive becomes grateful to their captor and identifies with them and understands, comes to this belief that the only way that they can save their lives is through absolute obsequious obedience to their captors. And all of these drills were intended to impose and to induce that condition in the entire public. And I'll tell you one other thing. The CIA did a series of mind control experiments back in the 60s and 70s called MK Ultra and Project Artichoke. And one of the famous experiments was called the Milgram experiment. And the Milgram experiment, and you guys look it up, Milgram experiment. What they did is they brought volunteers from every walk of life, college professors, construction workers, everybody. They put them in a room with a doctor in a lab coat, a figure of authority. And he would tell them, turn up the electricity and shock the person who's in the next room. That person was an actor. And they would tell him, turn it up higher, turn it up higher. It went into the death zone. 67% of the people put it into the death zone, even though many of them weren't crying at the time. They were begging the doctor not to make them do it. And what they found was that using authority, particularly doctors in white lab coats, 67% of the public will violate their own conscience and do what they're told. All of this was orchestrated. They put doctors in charge of America, speaking of authority, never showing us any science, but ordering us what to do. And as you read my book, you're going to see all of the direct CIA involvement. And I name the person, I name the officers, year after year that were directly involved, partnered with Bill Gates, partnered with Tony Fauci, creating these scenarios.
Is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And
I'm just alarmed at the amount of people that are not familiar with this. I've got with me today Roy Eacups. He's in England, Great Britain, and this MK Ultra program was not only forward planned in the United States. They had at least a parallel program in Great Britain as well, using the same tactics and so forth. So what we talk about drug-induced mind control and some of these things that some people think that's outlandish, that our governments could be involved in guinea pigging citizens, including servicemen in the military. You better believe it's alive and well, and it's by no means gone away. They have improved and globalized, if you will, this program. And Roy is, I don't know of any other individual in Great Britain that is outspoken about MK Ultra, that's an actual survivor of the original deal. There may be others, but I'm not familiar with them. But when I get on this subject, that of course Roy immediately comes to mind. So I appreciate you being on, Roy, and I've got a few questions. I'd like for you to expound on some things, and
yeah, sure.
And so we can let the viewers kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And not only that, folks, is not just what's going on. We're talking about this. This is taking place in your community, in your city, your state.
Yeah.
And that is why it's important that you understand this and you're able to recognize this very diabolical and sinister process and program that's being used and funded by our tax dollars. Okay, that's the deal. So, Roy, just describe exactly how and when you realize that you were part of a MK Ultra type experiment or what have you?
Thank you very much, Richard. The first time, good evening all. The first time something happened to me, it was about 1981-82. I was born in 62, and it was around the time I became the manager of an amusement arcade. What an amusement arcade is, basically it's full of slot machines. And I was too small to get in the British Army, and I used to hang about an amusement arcade, and I ended up working there for 7 years. And anyway, when I was in my about 20, something strange happened to me. And it was a similar variation of the program that I'm on at the moment, but it only lasted, if I remember rightly, for maybe 3 or 6 months. And 1995, then I'd forgotten all about that. And I had this thing come to me, and it said, oh, after a while, he'll forget it ever happened to him. And then I did. And I forgot it happened, and I lived life, and messed up marriages and stuff happened. And,
so it was like a repressed memories and everything that were repressed, and then somehow it was reopened or triggered. Is that what you're saying?
No, it was like I'd been tampered with by the occult. It was like some sort of magic or something had happened.
So let's go back to the working at the amusement park. Right. Exactly what happened that was remarkable, that you do something was amiss or something happened?
Right. It was as if something had happened. I remember they were bullying me, a few people. I couldn't talk to them properly.
Right.
And it was like I'd become their bitch.
Uh-huh.
And I remember I had a three-wheeler at the time. I think I did at the time, or it was after, and I couldn't hold my head up in the mirror. And they done this to me, and I couldn't work it out because they had me walking around on the floor.
So you felt fine, and then all of a sudden you felt just completely off, or did it happen instantly, or what?
It was over. Well, it's difficult to remember because I'm only coming back from this time around. But the first time, there was I remember the people that were involved. A police inspector came down to the pier, and one day he turned around and said, "We'll have you wandering around the world like a headless effing chicken." And I sort of didn't really because I was just a cheeky kid, and the people around me all bullied me, or the majority of them bullied me. It was a copper's son, plus a family member. And, my boss was the guy, but it was like I wasn't allowed to grow, Richard. It was like I was always around them.
So after this point, this was in the 80s, it was as if someone else had control of you.
Yes.
Mind, a body, and soul.
Yes.
Now, did this, did you attend something? But you don't have any memory if you were placed in a clinic or something like that and medicated, then according to the way this program works, you wouldn't have any memory of that. It's like Men in Black, that flashed that little light, and it never happened. Is it something along that line that you feel like that a lot of things happened and that was completely scrubbed from your memory?
I had a motorbike accident when I was about 18, and I cracked my kneecap, and It was after that, but I don't remember how long after that.
So, a trip to the doctor. Did you go to the doctor?
Well, I cracked my kneecap, so I had an operation, Richard.
Okay, all right. So you had an operation.
Yes.
So it was after this operation when things started going south.
Yeah, but when I was a child, I lived at the hospital or at the doctor's because I've mentioned this to people because I used to get bad earaches and I used to get a lot of nosebleeds because I used to have the pressure in my nose and on my head as a child as well. So perhaps I was an experimentee as a child, you know.
That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. Now, Roy, a lot of people feel like that this program ended in the 70s.
No.
But it's just been modernized. Would you agree? And it never ended.
Without a shadow of a doubt, it was created in 1953 in Canada with British money, American money, and Canadian money. In 1973, it came on top. They used LSD. They were using LSD back in those days.
Right.
They used it on Kathy O'Brien. And Kathy O'Brien, if anybody cares, she's one of the world's most known to me, and in the targeted individuals world, I would think of Kathy O'Brien because she brought it all to justice. And sadly, they're saying, all these years later, she's a conspiracy theorist, even though it came to justice. 1973, it went underground. MK Ultra was the first project. There was 147 sub-projects, and Dr. Barry Trower, the great Dr. Barry Trower, he assures me that he knows of 10,500 upgrades. And what happened?
Go ahead.
Sorry, Richard, after you.
What about, I've got some notes here of the psychiatrist, Dr. William Sargent.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with what
Dr.
name?
William Sargent. It was a British psychiatrist, and he was closely linked to using all these techniques.
But to be honest, I'm not familiar with that name, Richard.
It's SARG. Me either. I thought maybe you would be.
No.
And he worked at St. Thomas Hospital in London.
Right.
To Maudsley Hospital.
No, I'm 100 miles southwest of London.
And he advocated for and practiced deep sleep therapy and electroshock and drug-induced conditioning. And of course, his goals were behavioral modification, breaking the human will, and total mind control. And he cooperated and worked with U.S. intelligence and studied methods in Canada, he said, including those of Dr. Ewan Cameron, whoever that is.
Well, we know who he is because he was one of the pioneers of this stuff. Dr. Ewan Cameron was.
And so there's apparently
a subject of theirs.
And I think that he is was behind starting the Porton Down and their secret chemical and biological warfare lab, et cetera, and they did LSD experimentation and all that stuff there. So it's not a secret that that Canada and Great Britain and the United States work together on this program.
Yeah.
I don't know what the drug, if there's a drug problem or epidemic in Great Britain. I'm assuming that it is. So I believe that that this is part of the reason that we have a drug epidemic, an illegal drug epidemic, if you will. We've got a legal drug problem, as everybody's aware of, and we also have an illegal drug problem. Both of them serve their purpose.
Yeah.
With the illegal drugs, it's open season.
Yeah.
It feeds the machine, the judicial system, and it keeps a lot of people at work, a lot of people busy, and a lot of people distracted. And so when people start talking about crazy things, it's well, they're on dope or they're paranoid schizophrenic or both.
Yeah.
Have you ever been accused of that?
Yes, I'm actually a bipolar paranoid schizophrenic.
Okay, well, I mean, you're claiming that paranoid schizophrenia is just a made up diagnosis. It probably a bipolar that used to be called manic depressive, and that's I think that's all that is something that Big Pharma and the government have worked together, to come up with a diagnosis for something that they've created.
Yeah. It's all created without a shadow of a doubt. Like every stage of that I've been through of this program, I can actually see the stages, because with me, they didn't use drugs. They used occult magic. They used,
that's one of the things I was going to get to with MK Ultra is the ritual abuse, and that is brought into this deal.
Yeah,
and that is always the wild card. Is this demonic and spiritual element that is the foundation of this program and the people that run it, and it is in many forms. And it's the form that it's sold in, ladies and gentlemen, is community-oriented policing, and that's where law enforcement and businesses and members of the community work together. The holistic approach, everybody doing their part, to having a safer community and safer homeland, if you will. And it's mob mentality, and it's their moral relativity. In other words, if it's enough people are saying that it's right and it's good, then it's right and it's good. and so goes the rest of the world. So you've, I know from our other conversations that what you just said, this ritual abuse and things that are coming in there. Tell us some of the tactics of just day to day, if there are things that are happening to you day to day.
Right.
What do you have? What in daily life of Roy Eacups? What are you experiencing that is not normal, that other people are not experiencing? What's the separation?
Right. Right. Yesterday, I had an appointment at the opticians, and this is just an instance. 1:40 p.m. appointment at the opticians, Specsavers. Let's give them a plug. Specsavers. Went to the optician. I made the appointment Friday of last week or Thursday. Went in the shop. Yes, Mr. Eacups. Come along on Wednesday at 1:40 p.m. I turned up yesterday. This lady was standing at the desk, and I waited, and I was looking at the glasses while I was waiting. And then this other lady came in, and the lady behind the desk, she ignored me. And I thought, that's okay, let the lady go first. And then I'm still looking at the glasses, and then the lady's still there. And then this other lady came in with a little girl, and she got served before me as well. And, I'd been standing in there probably 10 minutes by now, And then the manager, I said, I'll be with you in a minute. I said, okay then. And then she went off over there to do stuff. And then the lady decided to serve me. I told her what my name was. And I said, I've got an appointment at 1:40. Oh, no, that appointment's not valid. I said, what do you mean it's not valid?
Well,
she said,
you're crazy, and that's their job, is to gaslight you.
Exactly. So I told her, I said, look, I got a reminder from Vision Express, which is another company. So if I get a reminder from one company, that means in Great Britain you can use this voucher anywhere.
Right.
But for me, they changed the rules. The rules with this is this optical appointment wasn't valid. And then she was kind enough to say, because I argued with them in the shop, she would give me a free eye test. But I didn't want to embarrass them because it was getting embarrassing in there. And I said, and I'd got to know her. She was a nice lady. I said, no thanks, Emma. I said, thanks anyway. And I walked out, and I made sure the little bitch behind the counter saw and knew. 6 weeks ago, I got thrown out of a phone shop. Basically, they took £370 overpayment over Christmas to mess my Christmas up, and they wouldn't give me my money back. They had me on the phone to Africa, to India, and the Philippines. I was up the shop 4 times. I think the third time I threatened to steal £400 worth of goods out of the shop, and they said they were going to phone the police, and I said I was going to phone the police. And then the Vodafone shop down the road, my phone had been spoofed with Vodafone. So with Vodafone, they asked me for my PIN number in front of the whole shop. I've never been in a phone shop that asks you for any PIN number, the whole PIN number in front of the whole shop. So that's just a couple of instances, with all this nonsense. And I got thrown out of a bar 2 weeks ago, and then I got thrown out of a bus because I offered to help a homeless man. He put a load of change on the bus console where you put your coins, and then this driver was being really he wasn't being very nice to the person. Oh, you can go on now, I'm sure that it's going to be fine. So I said, if he's sure, I said, I'll pay the difference. Oh, I'm sure it's going to be perfectly fine. And then he started his nonsense with me, the bus driver. So anyway, I ended up getting thrown off that bus. And 2 weeks before that, I got thrown out of another bar about a mile from here in a place called Southbourne. So, but it's like this town's like that. It's been like it was like it the first time round. The places like this don't change. So, but a lot of hassle, to be honest, Richard.
You're talking about the eyeglasses, and I keep my mind going back to, it was an old movie, maybe from the 80s. They live. Glasses, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the guy would put the glasses on, and everything was different. Everything was messaging, and he'd see money, and then put the glasses on, and it would be on the money. This is your God. Consume. You're hungry. You're not hungry. So forth and so on. Of course, that was meant to be science fiction, or was it? There's these key things with our health care, especially our eyes, and traumatizing someone around that, like they've done with you, is concerning. It's not just with optical, but it's with other segments in the medical deal. You know, it's that's something that really I had thought much about it until you brought that up. But it's the trauma that they create around these certain things, certain when you go to a doctor's office and what have you. It is to reaffirm this emotion of control and knowing that confirming and affirming that you are being systematically targeted.
100%. When I had a brain scan, Richard, the results came through and the machine malfunctioned. They never even offered me back. I've got the results and I've shown it. They never even offered me another brain scan. I went to the doctors. One of the doctors tried to remove a pin-like object from the left bridge of my nose. She took about 10 minutes. She tried to remove it. You could feel it on the bridge of my nose. She could feel it. She tried removing it and she said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Eacups." She said, "I've got another appointment available. Could you make another appointment, please?"
Yeah.
So I made another appointment. It was with another doctor. Sat down, told her what was wrong. She played the mental health card this time. So one time she tried to remove it from my nose. The next doctor played the
Are you
mental
saying
health
that
card.
they're trying and failing, or they're just pretending like they're trying and told not to remove it? And it may not be anything other than the fact that you know that it's there, and psychologically, that is one of the paper cuts in this program is death by 1,000 paper cuts, and that's the whole idea of it.
Yes.
And so of course, you can go a million different ways with what that could be or what it isn't. But the thing is, it's still there.
Yes.
And that bothers me.
Thank you. Well, living knowing that the brain scan was covered up as well, you know, that the machine malfunctioned, and they never called me back. 3 months ago, I was at the hospital because I coughed this mucus up, and within a day, you can turn the bowl upside down, the mucus sets, and it's like it hangs there, and it's. Yes, that's been set. That's been about 8 months to a year, maybe, on my chest now. I took a bowl of it to the doctors. She referred me to the hospital. They did an X-ray on me. X-rayed me, did a blood test, and I took some fresh morning mucus. And they said they'd be in contact 3 weeks ago, and that was 3 months ago. I fell over a wall 2 Christmases ago and I broke my finger. And because I'm on a give the shittiest treatment list or something like that, they didn't bother mending my finger. They just sellotaped it to the next finger. So I've got a broken, it just stays like that now.
Well,
you know, so.
You know, we, for the proper context for people to understand, that there's nothing about this community-oriented policing program, and there's nothing about it is good for the community, good for anything. It is an agenda, and there's a lot of players in this agenda, and so these programs, MK Ultra, this is a well-documented CIA program, or COINTELPRO, a well-documented FBI program. These things have all been fused together and streamlined and mass marketed globally. And so when you, Roy is talking about of things that would talk in the dark magic and stuff like that, it's very real. I talk about it, not near enough, but it's very real. Human experimentation, not just humans, but animals. I did a story not long ago. Now, I don't know if you saw it. I'm going to put this, can you see that picture on my phone?
Yes.
Okay, that is a dog's stomach. Do you see the stitches?
Yes.
Okay. Now, these stitches here are not, it's a nylon cord. They're not dissolvable.
Right.
And I don't know what this, my phone screen is trying to, they're not dissolvable. And I was told that
that's crazy.
The knots they're tied there, the 3 knots is significant for something used in witchcraft. Now, not to say that this person that did this was practicing witchcraft, but they do these things. They want you to think they are. They may as well be. You know, you can't play with the devil and say, well, it's just pretend like, and expect it not to be real. Now, the story behind this dog here is, I know the dog. This dog has never been to a veterinarian, ever. And it was never signed up for any kind of surgery or anything else. But people that own the animal are targeted. And we did some things, and it was very obvious that this incision was on, it's a female pit bull on her belly, and some type of device implanted illegally in their dog. Now, they had a young male dog, the same breed, that whatever they were doing went wrong. It came up missing. The owner heard a yelp in the yard and went outside and didn't see the dog, and there for several days, no sign of the dog. And until I happened to be there that day, you could smell just all of a sudden, just a god-awful smell. And only behind the residence, the dog was dead. And it was very obvious that there was no visible signs of struggle or anything. But you could see, as far as I could see, in the woods there, where the dog had been drugged to the place it was left. And so they waited for the decomposition phase to set in, kind of cover their tracks, and it was a deal gone wrong. Now, what did they put into this animal? And there's, I won't get into all of those things, but what I am telling you, that and this wasn't done by a trained professional. We tell by the and what were the reasons for using the nylon? And in closer examination, it looks as if that nylon thread has a metallic core. If that's the case, it appears like that with the other pictures, then those permanent stitches would act as some form of antenna, if you know what I'm saying. And so, folks, that is as evil as it gets. Now, this is, I learned after this that people have been complaining about this nationwide. And when they take their vets to their animals to the veterinarian to get these things removed, guess what, Roy? They're unable to do it, or they refuse to do it. And those that have managed to get it done, they refuse to turn over what they removed. Now, and so now you're saying they couldn't get this thing out of your nose and so forth. You get the same song and dance, the same deal. Somebody's telling them, do whatever you want to do, but you better not extract it and hand it to them or anything else. You figure out a way to get around it. Does that sound about right for you, Roy?
Well, I'm wondering if they would have a microphone in it, because I thought to myself, if that's got a microphone in it, they can hear everything that's being said around the dogs.
Oh, they've seen. I just hadn't done the show on it yet.
That's slippery.
You can rest assured. You can rest assured with the technology that they're using, and I can substantiate that until the cows come home. And soon I'm going to do some broadcast on that of 24/7 surveillance, real-time surveillance in your home, everywhere you go. And Roy, it doesn't involve a camera or a microphone. Now, is that possible? You bet you
100%. Without a shadow of a doubt. They were looking through my eyes. A lot of people, they call it remote viewing. What
I've heard that. I've heard that. I'm not. I can't speak on it, but I can say this: that the society as a whole is completely oblivious to what is really going on.
Yeah.
And how societies are controlled and manipulated. And with the use of AI and technology and these programs that were simply experiments, 50, 60, 75 years ago, are now part of the deal. And it's happening in plain sight.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing that your computer, your phones, there's always something being screwed with. Is that right, Roy?
Yes. My phone's hacked. All of my accounts are hacked. Facebook stopped me going live. Facebook targeted. They took one of them. YouTube took targeted individuals united down 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Why is that?
It was hacked. So the Zoom meeting was hacked. The first time it was hacked, somebody mentioned a field of green stuff that grows in Morocco that people smoke. They mentioned it on my chat, and I got a strike. That was the first time 6 weeks ago, because somebody else mentioned that. And I don't want to mention it because I don't want to get in trouble, Richard. And then the next time I went live, and this was the time the Satanist was around, and this other man, and the meeting got hacked. The Zoom meeting, we were live on YouTube. They hacked the meeting, and YouTube took targeted individuals united down. So all of the videos, there was we got 250,000 badge at Christmas for 250,000 views. I was told that it saved lives. A friend of mine, she's found implants, and I was told it had saved lives. And and I got taken down 6 weeks ago, and Richard and I were chatting before, and it's been a bit of a labour of love, and we had 3,500 or something subscribers.
It's going to happen. It'll continue to happen.
Yeah.
There's a concept, if you will, of free speech in civilized places on this planet, at least a concept, but it is just a concept. It's free up until you talk about something that Big Brother doesn't want you to talk about.
Yeah.
And that is That's the reason those things happen. And so you have to choose your battles, and not you have to choose your battles, and it happens. And folks, that's the reason that we are continuously on here talking about these things, because you're listening to individuals like Roy and I that not just were targeted, but are targeted, and things that we have to deal with on a daily basis. And the protocol for these is for this. The main goal of this program, Roy, is to have a society, a global society of transhuman beings, people that are essentially they're humans, but they're more or less robots. Yeah, and we're at that phase now. Yeah, I mean, people just stop and watch people when they stop their car, they get out, and you'll see whole families traipsing across the parking lot, and every one of them have a device in their face. They sit out, and there's no the nuclear family. All those things are a thing of the past. And people don't know how to have a real relationship or even have a real conversation. Yeah, come on. It's everything evolves around likes and memes and all that kind of stuff. It's the box that we have allowed ourselves to be put in and isolated, individually isolated, and not being able to function outside of that box. And if anybody doubt what I'm saying, just take your device, your cell phone, and lock it away for about a month and see if things change. In other words, no texting, no emails, no checking Facebook 50,000 times a day. None of that. I'm telling you, folks, I hadn't met anybody. There's very few people. I know a few. Very few people that would ever be able to do that. Even the seniors, once they get it, they figure out how to do the minor things on the most addictive, more addictive than cocaine ever thought about being is Facebook. They can't put it away, and so this is control. Would you agree, Roy? If it's control, what do they control? It's mind control. And I would 100%. So we say mind control. Say, oh, these people are crazy. Yeah. Okay.
Well, why do they call a TV? Why do they call a TV program a program? You know, it's a TV program, isn't it? It's and the digital world. In about 1973-74, the very, very first digital watch in the world come out. It was a Casio. And I was lucky enough to have one. I used to help this little old lady on the way to school called Mary. And she bought me the Casio watch. Now, there's a point to this. I became fascinated by my watch. At certain times I'd press the button. It was 11:11 and 11 seconds. Right. And all of this. But I look at that as my escapism, Richard. You know, because I had a lot going on when I was younger. You know, around me at home there was an awful lot. And you know, I was a little kid, a little one, and there was a lot going on up here as well. You know, and for some reason I had something that other people seemed to want, or if they couldn't get it from me, they'd bully me, or they'd try to get it out of me that way, because I was quite good at maths, and I was quite popular as well, Richard. But this showed me that you can go from having a friend everywhere in the world to having nobody for 30 years and being cut out of society. The idea of how did they manage to figure out with the technology of this isolation? Let me tell you, they
use and continue to use human beings as test subjects. Over 8 million Americans annually are targeted. They're listed as domestic under the domestic terrorist deal, and they're deplorables. They've done this, they're doing that. It's whatever they say. None of it can hold the water with due process or any of those things. It's their slogan, Roy, is see something, say something. So it's a snitch culture. They've militarized. They operate off of a snitch culture. In other words, your next door neighbor, they're watching you, and they're keeping tabs on what you're doing, and they're reporting in. And now, this is real. That is the deal.
Yeah, they call that neighborhood watch in England.
Neighborhood watch, and it's everywhere. See something, say something. And so this mind control is absolutely is a real thing. And so the people that are the foot soldiers and targeting and participating in this are people, ladies and gentlemen, that a lot of them are watching this right now, but people that are in your family, people that you go to church with, people that you don't, and they're doing this, and at some point in the game, you had to say, something is off,
Yes.
Is this because the caliber of people, Roy, is I liken the demographic to game shows. In other words, the people normally that are targeted, they don't want to shape this program off a bunch of simpletons and morons. How hard is that going to be to trick a moron? They want to get free thinkers, people that are independent, people that are non-conformist. They're not just going because everybody else is doing it. They don't want that. And so those are the people being targeted. And so so those people are the ones that you see on Jeopardy. You ever watched the game show Jeopardy? Somebody, this so-and-so has got a PhD at MIT and rocket science, blah, 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 and you're down. And then those are the people get targeted. And the people that do the targeting are the average person that you see on Wheel of Fortune. They introduce one of them. This is Raymond from Tulsa, and he's fascinated by small, shiny objects. And everybody claps their hands. And so that's the difference there. Okay. You got the Wheel of Fortune crowd targeting the Jeopardy crowd. They don't like these smart asses that think they know everything anyway. So they already got an axe to grind, a grudge right off the jump. And they will fall for anything. And when it comes to they feel powerful and they're validated. Now they control their life. They have no idea what the hell's going on, but they're yes, and jump how high on the way up, and that's the deal. And so Roy, it's of course you don't want to have those morons in your company, and then when you want to gravitate to people that are a little more enlightened, a little more intellectual. They're Johnny on the spot to paint you as a nut job and everything else, and dangerous, and the best thing they can do is steer clear of you. You find that to be some of the issues?
I spoke to people. I was a public figure from the age of 15 and a half, nearly 15 and 3/4, until I was 33, of sound mind. So all I did was work with thousands and thousands of people throughout the weeks, months and years, and then internationally, on the cruise ships, in the casinos.
I mean, were you, what was your position? What was your...
Well, I looked after the slot machines in various leisure establishments, and then I went on to the cruise ships for 4 years. And, we travelled from Southampton to Australia, all of the South Pacific, over to the Caribbean, over to Florida, the Mediterranean, and so on and so forth. You know, and I married one of the most stunning women in the world that I met in Miami, and we came back, and then when my son was 3 weeks old, that was the end of it, Richard. And it was a pattern. It had happened 3 times with my other women as well, with the mother of my daughter, and the previous, well, my first wife lost 2 babies. The mother of my daughter left me when she was 8 months pregnant, and my wife left me when my son was 3 weeks old. But I was a compulsive gambler. I was in the slot machines, and I was a drinker. And, you know, but it seemed to be a pattern that was put in place that I was out of control of. So that's why I said to you earlier, I wondered if I was a Manchurian candidate or a Stargate Project survivor, because I was aggressive, and I'm ashamed to say this, with 2 of my women. And, you know, it cost me everything. I put my hand through a window on one and I hit another, you know. And I grew up, and it's no excuse, you know. I'm sorry, Linda. I'm sorry but it wasn't me. I believe that may have been built into me, or it could have been the 3 people that were controlling me, because I've gone through this time and time again to see where, if I could figure it out, Richard, to see, because the 3 people, it was like they were there. I had 2 friends that used to protect me, to keep these other people away from me, you know. And you come back into this loop, in this circle, it doesn't stop. And
it's you know, at some point in your life, you are driven to a point that you question everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like at times that I require a bacteria count on the milk of human kindness. It's we are God created man in a certain way, and the very things that conflict with God's creation is the very things that this program capitalizes on. In other words, lies, rumors, smear tactics, destruction of family, taking their children away from them, making them unemployable, homelessness, it on and on and on. Every element of this is a characteristic of Satan himself. And so my advice to anybody that's looking for advice, what is the answer? Well, I can tell you, God, Jesus Christ, Him crucified is the answer, the only answer. God's still on the throne. He sees it all. He's bigger than all of it. And that's where I stand on it. Roy, how many people, if you had to guess, it's hard to get a number, do you feel like in Great Britain are being targeted? Is there an estimate?
The thing is you know that targets are always coming through, new targets, because they're always discovering that they're being a target. So, but I'm familiar with the groups throughout the country and the world, really, you know, because I've seen the growth throughout the States, Japan, Australia, Australasia, you know, throughout Europe. You know, there's a lot in South America as well, you know, and most of the states are affected. Certain states a lot more than others. I wouldn't put numbers on it personally, Richard, because I don't know the answer. But I know there's a lot of groups, you know, that are around in the United Kingdom.
And those groups are really can't be representative of people that are the majority of the people that are affected by this program globally have the majority of them have no idea there's a name for it, and all the catchphrases that you see in this so-called TI, target individual, and gang stalking, and so forth. They'll know all this lingo. They're not aware of it. I've said this when I came on the scene about 5 years ago. I said, people say, well, are there any more people, targeted people in my city? I'm just trying to find one. And that always alarmed me. For what? Where we can have get a circle and sing Kumbaya and get an awareness bracelet and this is not some kind of damn disease we're looking for a cure. And that's the last thing I want to do is what good is that going to do? I don't need the kind of support I need is not sitting in some group and learning how to cope. If you try to figure out how this program is doing what they're doing and whatever it is that they're doing, that it's designed, Roy, for you to be in an endless chase of never getting an answer. And so when people realize that when this a puzzle is designed to be an unworkable puzzle, there is no finished product. That's what it was made. I mean, they made all the parts. This is a puzzle. Now you put it together. You spend 100 years and say, guess what? It was never cut out and designed to ever be put together.
I got two books here that I wrote of what they were doing to me.
Right.
Because they stopped me being able to read and write. They stopped me being able to talk. They actually gave me a virtual lobotomy. They rewound my brain, or they regressed me back to childhood. They uploaded my brain, and then they put me back in my body in 2004 after they sent me to the Philippines to marry a woman under mind control, and then made me spend £85,000 and care for my mother for the next 12 years.
They work on it's all, folks, it's evil. It's evil. And it
could be used
I'm going to put a clip. I'm going to put some old footage in here too, Roy.
Right.
Of some hearings and so forth, talking about MK Ultra, but more of these of recent. The Health and Human Services Chief Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Has been very vocal about MK Ultra, the CIA's playbook with the COVID-19 deal, Fauci, the injections, and so forth. So it doesn't get any more mainstream than what I just said. As it being that's something that is on the table. And I'm going to continue to say that we see a lot of things going on in the world today. We see the deal in Israel and with the riots, these people that are not citizens of the United States. They're here illegally, burning our flag, waving a Mexican flag, whatever country they're from. And I still get that. I mean, they're waving a Mexican flag, but raising hell, not wanting to go back to Mexico. And they're attacking the police. And it's just, I mean, but folks, let me tell you, all that's real. That's going on. But buyer beware. When all these things are happening, you better believe that these are designed distractions. And when you see all these things going on, that you need to pay attention. And what are they trying to distract us from? What move are they trying to make to get us closer to this technological lobotomy? You just brought that lobotomy up. Is it possible that they can do this through technology and through AI?
100%.
Hell, they've already done it.
Well, they stopped me talking.
You can't. People understand that the most Meta and Zuckerberg's deal was designed off the same principles, the same mathematical equation as Las Vegas is designed, the slot machine, and how people just absolutely cannot pull away from it. He used that same exact method and folded that into social media, but the same techniques. And it's just as addictive as checking your Facebook feed as it is pulling a lever on a one-armed bandit. They got you. That lobotomy has taken place. You can't do it without. You might say you can, but you can't. And if that's the case, what else can you not do? Stand up for your rights. Stand up for the Constitution. Stand up for justice. Stand up for the people that are oppressed and people that are committing crimes against humanity, because that's what we're talking about. Because the people that they've demonized are those lone voices that have cried out in the wilderness, that for whatever reason that we're going to use them as test subjects, and we're going to fine tune this deal to see how they react to this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to break them, and that's MK Ultra. That's the whole mantra, is to break the human will to resist. And resistance is futile. Would you agree, Roy?
100%, and that's Dr. Robert Duncan, Project Soul Catcher. For 30 years, they had my soul, it felt like, up until 18 months ago, and they taken me over to the dark side, where they had total control of me, and then they brought me into the light. They still had control of me, and that's when things started becoming clearer. And there's 55 bottles of alcohol in the cupboards, and I don't drink spirits. And this was all part of the program, and it was the demonetization part. Basically, they made me buy loads of stuff so that I've got no money left. The stuff, the alcohol, you can't sell without a license. So you're basically giving all of that away, because even over Christmas, I'm probably the only person in the world that couldn't sell cheap liquor. You know,
it's when you're singled out, it's a planned deal.
Yes.
of destruction. And then when that person is targeted, kills themselves, commit suicide, that's the ultimate goal, is for them to die by appearance of their own doings. Now, but the good news is, folks, is with everything that we've talked about here, and we're gonna close it out. There's so much to cover, but and I think it's important that that we have people like Roy that can speak on this program with authority. And you've heard him speak, and now you'll have people say, "Well, he's just an absolute nut job." Well, everybody's got their opinions, but regardless of what you think, understand this: he's not crazy, and what he has been put through his whole life is real, and this is a created deal. Remember, these diagnoses and these medications, Big Pharma, and diagnosis, the mental health community, all of these things working together for one common deal. We're going to do these things. It's going to make people say this. Well, we'll have a diagnosis of this. Hey, where's my cut in this? We'll have a medication for this. And then that will be a reason that when they do say something to somebody that's not in on the know, is we can immediately say, well, they are 5150. They're paranoid schizophrenic. And that's certified. Oh, so that's the okay. See, everything else past that, that you get marginalized and dismissed, and then that targeted individual becomes very aware that it appears that the whole world is against them.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, Roy, the whole world is not against them. The whole world is not in on it. They will make and create this bubble around you to make it appear like that. Don't fight. And they want you to feel the hate. And do these people that participate in this program, community-oriented policing and neighborhood watch, and we're working together and everybody doing their part and controlled by a little app telling them what to do, when to stand up, when to sit down. These are the mindless, soulless demons behind it. And folks, let me tell you, they don't constitute the world. They don't constitute everybody. But I'm reminded of this. I know it's in the book of John, in the New Testament. Jesus made it real clear. He said, remember, they hated me first. And folks, that should tell you everything. Of course, they hated Jesus and what he came for and what he defeated. And the very thing that we're talking about now is the very thing that was defeated on Calvary's cross. So it's a temporary deal, folks. Those folks have made their deal with the devil, whether they called him by name or not. They've made their place in hell. And that is, that can't be any kind of existence at the end of the day, knowing that deep in their heart of hearts, these people are going to burn in eternal hell. And so with that, I sleep good at night because I know that I won't have that at that point in the game, I won't have to look at these clowns. I won't have to deal with that. But between now and then, our job is to continue to proclaim the truth and to tell people that what's going on. They're not alone. You're not quite as crazy as if they are trying to paint you as being. And there are people responsible for this in your community. And when you start holding them accountable and start calling them out instead of calling out their tricks, or they're doing this or doing that, don't talk about that as much. Let's talk about the magicians and not how they're doing their tricks. And that man behind the curtain does not like to be exposed. And so that's, would you agree with that, Roy?
Yes, certainly. While Richard was talking there, this card here, this is St. Edward. And this was given to me by Dr. Barry Trower. For who people who don't know who Dr. Barry Trower is, he's an ex-British MI5, MI6 military microwave weapons expert. He became a whistleblower 35 years ago. I had the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Barry just under 2 years ago, and his job was to debrief spies when they came back from their missions, and the underwater microwave weapons expert, his job was to see how microwaves deflected underwater.
Right.
And that was part of his job. And I said, Dr. Barry gave me this for protection. And I said, this is St. Edward. And, you know, and I keep that with me because I think spiritual protection, Richard, you know, is there's certainly something, because somebody told me it was black magic, but somebody who came to me, he confirmed it was voodoo that was used on me.
Well, it's either, let me say, Roy, it's either good or evil.
Right.
I'll tell you, Milgram. It's
right.
Either God's in on it or the devil's in on it.
Yeah,
5, 6, or 7 in betweens there. So it's one or the other. And I can promise you, God is not in on any of this BS that we are now experiencing in this on this planet. And so we can talk about chemtrails, we can talk about the 5G and the frequencies and what's really going on. And I mean, if you just read the small print, get in your cell phone, just go into about the manufacturing and go in that part of your phone, and it's 10 miles long with a small print where whoever the manufacturer, whether it's Apple or
Android,
Samsung, they'll tell you that your phone emits non-ionized radiation, and that you can take precautions. Now, it's not.
This is a radiation meter.
Any kind of radiation, non-ionized radiation, get enough of it, and it's detrimental. What do you got there? Is that a tri-field meter? What is that, Roy?
Yeah, that's a radiation. It's a meter, and it picks up on radiation in the room, and it also picks up on objects.
I've got one like that. I don't use it. I've got one that's a lot better than that.
This on the base of my spine.
I believe it's one of these, is it, Roy?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, but very similar, yeah.
I've got a tri-field meter that is a true tri-field meter.
Right.
And we don't do it on this program, folks, but it's the low frequencies that you need to be concerned with. Yeah, of course, they're geared to alert you to the high frequencies. You're getting too much of it.
Yeah,
that's a problem. But the malicious intrusions into your lives, into everything you're doing, is operating on a very low frequency. And people that understand frequencies a little better than I do, but the lower the frequency is, it travels a little easier, as opposed to a faster frequency that will tend to deflect or bounce. A lower one will. And so this is your surveillance and everything, your data, everything by this deal, and your Neuralink. And you say, well, I don't ever want to get hooked up to a Neuralink. Well, okay.
And brain gate.
Probably don't, but you already hooked up to one.
Yeah. The deal's already done with Neuralink, brain gate, the satellite.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And by the time you hear people talking about it, mainstream people talking about it, you can bet your sweet ass it's too late.
It's in place.
By the time you really, people got the memo that cigarettes were killing people, how many was already dead, and it was too late. How many was too late? People say, okay, they're killing people. I figured that, but I can't quit them. And so goes the rest of the world. So that's the deal. Parting shots, Roy. In spite of everything that evil has done to destroy you and to render you incapable of being able to even feed yourself, apparently they failed, Roy, because you're still talking about it. And you're talking about things that they never meant for you to be discussing, especially under the premise of being taken seriously.
Yeah. Totally agree. And I don't understand why they haven't taken me out.
It's, it's not for the lack of not trying.
Oh, agreed.
I mean, for it to look right, it's got to be something that he jumped out of a 50-story building, And well, you know, he always thought people were mind controlling him. So that figures, and he jumped through out damn building like he was on PCP. That's what they want to happen, and so that's their goal, Roy. This is their conscious goal. Is these people, these community-oriented, good doers, do-gooders that they think they are, have a genuine hate for those that they target, and that is their reward, is to see that person completely decimated or destroyed, and that is the end goal that makes that pleases them. And that's probably, Roy, the only area where I believe that I can get on the same page with them, because the way they feel about people that they target, I feel that way about them. Okay, and I just you know, when they tragedy hits, well, you know, live by the sword, die by the sword.
Exactly.
Yep, man. Shit happens.
It's got to go back to them, Richard. I keep saying that. It's making its way back to them slowly.
I'll guarantee you, these people are not happy people. Whether you believe it or not, karma is real. That's not something that this Middle Eastern pagan religion drummed up. And Jesus Christ taught karma. Okay, that's why I believe it's real, because he taught it. He said, "As you sow, so shall you reap." Okay, it's karma, ladies and gentlemen. You can't plant corn and expect tomato plants to come up. Okay, and these people have been planting it and sowing it, discord, lies, and all these things, and doing it in a way, and they've justified it as what they're doing is right somehow. They will and are reaping the benefits of that. So take comfort in that, folks, knowing that as long as you're doing the right thing, and you're not falling for their traps and getting led into these deals of destruction, you're going to be all right. Yeah. Will you agree, Roy?
I would agree, and if anybody's hearing voices, please never use tin foil. Okay. Never use tin foil, because what happened with me, because I wasn't clever enough to be able to look for protection, or I didn't care anymore, a lot of people use mylar, they use different objects to deflect the microwave, but don't ever use tin foil. And what happened with me is I put a thicker foil on. As we're talking, I've got a headache here. I always get this though. And I put the foil on, and what I kept putting on thicker, and I was getting relief, because they hit me here so badly in this room. I had a lump come up on my throat, and then I had a lump come up on a testicle. Then I had bladder cancer, and I've got macular degeneration, cataracts, and nerve damage. And, you know, friends, the microwave frequencies, this is real. You know, Richard and I, we're not just sat in here, you know, just for fun, really. You know, we're trying to educate people as to microwave weapons, directed energy weapons, remote neural monitoring.
It's a real thing. All those things are in play. And whether that's being physically used on an individual or psychologically used on an individual, you know, as a man thinketh, so shall he be. And you know, and you know, and people want to get something and run with it. They start getting a twinge or a tick or a sting, and immediately say, "Well, they're hitting me with this, they're hitting me with that," and I get that, and Roy, I got all kinds of shit happen to me all the time. I just I ain't got time to think about it, you know, and
it's so great to see that
they electrocute me some more. I'm a masochist anyway, so charge that son of a bitch up, jolt me. But until I can take a bag of microwave popcorn and just hold it and it starts popping in my hand, I'm not going to worry about it. I hadn't been able to get to have that happen yet. That's probably coming. But every imaginable, conceivable thing, folks, that these evil people can do and field test, they're doing it. You can believe that. That's how they know what works and what doesn't work.
Exactly.
It's all a real thing. And people got to say, well, okay, it's a real thing. Well, how do we know it's a real thing? How do we know it does that? Well, because they tested it on a couple 100,000 people. That's how they'll put that in the brochure. But you rest assured, when a doctor prescribes you something, you go to the drugstore, you take it. How do you know that works? Well, they tested. What did they test it on? A couple of monkeys, a goldfish. Folks, wake up and smell the roses here. If big pharma, it doesn't matter who it is. They believe me. If there's a product, they believe there are human beings in that petri dish, and that's how it continues to do it and continue to hone their skills on society. Well, Roy, I appreciate you coming on. Let's get you back on here because I always, if I don't have you on here, I don't go off the reservation and talk about the things that you deal with, and because that's just not my field of expertise. If there is one, that's not it. I'm not discounting any of it. I'm just saying that I consider you as considerable one of the top dogs in the in the globe when it comes to this program and mind control, and Roy is able to talk about it. If you remember, folks, he said when he was a child, this more than likely this thing happened. And would he have any recollection of that? So maybe we'll talk more about that next time, and I'll share some stuff that I have never shared, but that will kind of dovetail with what Roy's already told you. So, folks, y'all stay tuned. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Share. Welcome your comments down there below. I'll have Roy's contact information in the description of this video. And so feel free to reach out to him for any questions and or support. Trust me, folks, we don't do what we do for fame or fortune or for money or anything else.
Exactly.
We do it because there's people out there that many people that have they're on the edge in the rope for whatever reason, and feel like that they have nowhere to turn, and that nobody really understands, and hopefully we're able to reach some of those people and let them know that you do have somewhere to go, and it's not the end, and you're not alone.
Exactly.
Okay, folks, until next time, God bless you.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard.
Looking forward to having you back.
Call me a god. Call me a god. Call me a god.
Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession, I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex, haters love to hate.